The one thing that a lot of players tend to neglect every single day is walking routes, and in my opinion, this form of gameplay actually has incredible potential, but it's something that Niantic has not met, and the big reason for that is because they just do not feel compelled to actually give out good rewards from walking routes. And this is something that I really want to see changed, and I do think it all revolves around one specific Pokemon. Hey, how's it going everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon GO discussion video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. Alright, so on my YouTube channel, I tend to be very critical towards Pokemon GO and Niantic, and I think a big reason for that is because I want to see the game improved every single day. It's one of the games that I play every single day. It's a game that I really enjoy, and whenever I see it start to fall off, then I really do get concerned, and I feel like a lot of that is because of some of the decisions that Niantic makes. And sometimes those decisions are non-decisions because they release something that is very good and it's something that has a lot of potential, but they just do not do anything with that feature, and because of that, it ends up falling by the wayside, and it's a huge missed opportunity. And yeah, sometimes I just want to be very constructive. I want to point out what these features are and what potential they could meet, and maybe if they listen, they could actually create a lot of really interesting and unique gameplay and actually improve Pokemon GO for the better. So yeah, today is going to be one of those days. I want to talk about routes because in my opinion, this is something that I feel has incredible potential in Pokemon GO. It's something that could engage a lot of players. It could drive players to play outside and get a lot of really good rewards. But because Niantic has not done much with routes, unfortunately this feature has kind of fallen by the wayside. I do not know a lot of players who actually care about walking routes, and this is something that needs to change because on top of this being a feature that has suddenly become very outdated and neglected, it's something that can be relevant, it's something that can produce a lot of really good and engaging gameplay, but it's really going to depend on Niantic to actually improve it. And if you want to talk about improvements, there really is one thing that they could do to make routes extremely relevant and something that players will be doing on the daily. So what exactly is that? Well, I feel like one thing that would make routes amazing is if you could catch Zygardes on routes. I guess they've created the sense of artificial scarcity by only giving one Zygarde to every single player, and I think this was a huge mistake because the whole reason why people would ever engage with routes is to collect Zygarde cells. And if they do not have themselves a Zygarde that is worth all of that effort, like if it's a low IV Zygarde, then they're just going to completely neglect the system entirely. And I think this is the one thing that Niantic could fix immediately by allowing players to potentially catch Zygardes when they walk routes. Maybe they don't have to have it as a spawn on a route, but maybe it's something that you could earn from completing a whole dozen of routes. I really do not know what they could do, but I do think that releasing Zygarde as something you could catch through routes is something that they definitely need to consider. Because once players get themselves a Zygarde that is actually worth the effort of walking routes and collecting Zygarde cells, then they're going to be doing it. I think this is a great way for them to create a lot of longevity for Pokemon GO and also revitalize an old mechanic that a lot of players have been neglecting. I mean, a lot of this is speaking on my own personal experiences, but also the experiences of people that I talk to. It just really seems like routes are something that nobody actually cares about. And yeah, there's going to be some players who will care about routes, but for a majority of players, because they do not have themselves a good Zygarde, they just do not feel compelled to walk routes and collect Zygarde cells. It's kind of become a forgotten feature at this point. And yeah, some will present the argument that even an 80% or a minimum IV Zygarde complete form is going to still be really good, but it's not going to be the level of fusion forms or mega evolutions. So because of that, I think a lot of players tend to neglect this one aspect of the game. But if you were to give players the opportunity to get themselves a 100% IV Zygarde or maybe even a shiny Zygarde in the future, then yeah, players will definitely engage with routes. And I do think that for a majority of players, they would actually enjoy this, and I think it would be a huge positive change. And that's something that Pokemon Go has needed for quite some time. It feels like ever since they nerfed remote raids, the Pokemon Go community has just been up in arms with Pokemon Go, and for the very few that are still playing this game, they just want to see some positive changes. And yes, Niantic has delivered some positive changes in the past couple of years. No doubt there's been some really good quality of life changes, but I really do think that for something like this to be added into the game, it would be a huge benefit to pretty much every single Pokemon Go player, and it would be a benefit to the game itself as well. I mean, if they were to make routes relevant in this way, then you're going to see a lot of players engaging with routes content. They're going to go out and look for new routes. They're going to try to create routes themselves. And then of course, it's just going to create a lot of longevity because people are going to have a reason to play every single day. Really, it's a win-win. I feel like Niantic could get a lot more engagement, they could get a lot more players out and about playing the game the way they want them to play the game, and then players are going to enjoy this form of content because there is actually a reward that is going to be worthwhile. So I do think that there's a lot of potential here for some great improvements just simply by releasing Zygarde as something you could catch while walking routes. And you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a wild spawn that only appears on routes. I think there's a lot of potential here for them to do some unique and interesting things. Like, let's say if you get the gold badge for walking a route several times, which is something that I don't think anyone really cares about, but let's say there is a route in your area and you walk it every single day and you reach gold. Well, when you reach gold on that route, then you will be able to get yourself a Zygarde spawn. And that means you're going to have to find different routes if that Zygarde doesn't end up being the 100% IV. It's going to allow you to engage with multiple different routes, and you're going to have to do them multiple times every single day. But if they were to do this, then yeah, I do think routes are definitely going to be something that players will care about. And I totally recognize that this is something that players could exploit, like if they were to create routes that are I don't know, extremely easy to complete and they just complete hundreds of them every single day, then they could get as many Zygardes as they want. Like, yeah, there is potential for that, but I do also think that as long as players are continuously reporting those said routes and Niantic has a system in place to check and balance that stuff out, then I do think this could still work. And it's something they should definitely consider. I really do not understand this artificial scarcity behind Zygarde. It's something that is not going to be game-changing if you get yourself multiples of them. I totally understand that it is a mythical quality Pokemon, but I really do think they need to give players more than just one or two. They need to give players the opportunity to get as many Zygardes as they can, because you can ask any Pokemon Go player, it's not usually about quantity, it's more about quality. Like whenever there is a legendary Pokemon in a raid battle that is actually really good, then players are gonna raid dozens of them, not because they want dozens of them, but it's because they want to get that elusive 100% IV. And the same can be said for Zygarde. A lot of players want to use Zygarde's complete form in the Master League, and in order for them to get the most optimal Pokemon for the Master League, they need 100% IVs. I think at the end of the day, the biggest improvement that Niantic could do is kind of ditch this artificial scarcity mentality and then actually give players several opportunities to get exactly what they want. And yeah, it's only going to be the benefit of the game and the players and Niantic themselves, because this is a great way for them to drive up engagement. But yeah, in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about down below. Do you feel like them releasing Zygarde as something you can catch in routes would actually improve routes and the game? Or do you disagree with me and you feel like everything is exactly how it should be? Definitely share your reasons for thinking that down below. And yeah, let's have a great discussion. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And also don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. Real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Content Slow channel, the absolute best way you could do that is by joining my Patreon. And if you become a paid Patreon member, you get a permanent spot on my in-game Pokemon Go friends list. So that means means for stuff like remote raids and the friendship system. If you want to play Pokemon Go with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you can do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms that you see on the bottom of your screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.
Jinsula